50 years ago, Cooley High was released to theaters. This film has been labeled as one of the most important pieces of black cinema. It was one of the first films that showcased lives of young black teenagers, which was pretty huge because most black films of the 70s were labeled blaxploitation flicks. This film came out in the height of that era and proved a shift in black filmmaking. And 50 years later, this film holds up fine. And you want to know why? Stay tuned to find out. Before we begin, if you want to see music bios or more good videos like this, hit the subscribe button. Also, I've started a Patreon account. On here you get more copyrighted material and they'll be uploaded 48 hours prior to YouTube. If you want to support or visit, link is in the description. And without further ado, on to our feature presentation. The film was set in Chicago with Richard Cochise Morris going to his friend's home in Leroy Preach Jackson. Preach has been skipping school all week and Cochise advised him to go to school as they're students at the now defunct Cooley Vocational High School. And let me take the time to mention the ages of Cochise and Preach. Lawrence Hilton-Jacobs was 22 playing a high schooler and Glynn Turman was 28 playing a high schooler. Kinda old if you're asking me. But once they finessed their way out of school using the old nosebleed nail polish routine, little did Preach knew he left the evidence on his desk. How smart of him to do this. This won't be the only dumb thing he does in this picture. You also have to remember that there weren't any cameras in high school back in the day, so skipping school was super easy. They decided to spend the day at the Lincoln Zoo and they wreak havoc like most teenagers do, and a result of their tomfoolery leads to Pooter getting gorilla dung flung on him.
Hey, look out, man!
After playing hooky, they go to an after-school hangout in Martha's, and this is where we meet Stone and Robert, local stick-up kids, who are really worse stick-up kids, and Preach was gambling with them. When he rolls the dice, a yellow bone named Brenda kicks the dice and Preach is in love, despite having a girlfriend and making a fool out of himself. Cochise then blabs to Preach, saying he will never get with that girl and he'll give him $1 if he does.
If I don't get some of that, I'd give up your mama. Dollar say you don't. Dollar? Bet.
She snitches to Martha and she kicks Preach out for gambling. We get some background on Cochise. He's a basketball star player, and thanks to his hard grind, he received a scholarship to Grambling State. To celebrate, Preach and the boys celebrate, but not before making fun of Preach writing as he wants to become a writer.
You guys think it's so funny because I want to be something besides a factory worker or a football player. Well, that's because you're a bunch of stupid that don't know.
They drink wine, and they all put their mouth on a bottle, and I want to remind you of this thing called COVID-19, because 5 years later, that thing still exists. But before they drink, Cochise decides to pour one out for the brothers who ain't here.
This is for the brothers who ain't here. Hey, man, you pouring out our wine. This is for the brothers who ain't here. Forget them, man. They ain't here. They don't get none. Man, there's a lot of brothers that's dead or in jail, and we just got to give them a little bit of respect. Understand? You pour your wine out, we'll drink ours.
After their celebration, they go to a quarter party, they dance to Motown music, and this is where I want to shine a light on the soundtrack. For someone who grew up listening to Motown classics, this was a huge highlight for me in the film. But back to the movie, Preach is reunited with Brenda, and this encounter goes much better as they have a love for poetry. During the party, we meet hating ass Damon, and he looks like he wants trouble. He immediately spots Cochise with his girl, and the two get into a fist fight. They break an expensive glass counter that doesn't belong to them. We then see a scene of a pimp hustling a client. Don't know why this was in the movie, but let's move on. The gang is outside singing under the moonlight, and that's what they did back in those days, until Pooter ruins it.
Aw, Pooter, you can't sing no bass.
After this, Stone and Robert show up in a Cadillac, and this move would lead to a ton of bad decisions. Number one, they did not realize that the Cadillac Stone and Robert was driving was stolen. Number two, Stone let Preach drive knowing he can't, and his bad driving led to unwanted police attention and a high-speed chase ensue. And fun fact, this whole scene was done in one take. They were able to evade 12, but they weren't able to evade another vehicle, and this causes whiplash.
Shut your mouth and lay down on the ground, fool.
The next day, they try to study for the history midterm, and their short attention span lead to doing something else. They want to go to the movies, but they don't have enough money for all of them. So Preach and Cochise decide to rob two prostitutes. They watch one of the older Godzilla movies, and during the movie, Pooter unintentionally caused an all-out brawl from the Chicago Disciples. Imagine going to the movies and you get entertained by a brawl. Preach then gets connected with Brenda and they have fun in bed, and this scene kinda disturbs me. Remember, Glynn Turman was 28 at the time of this movie being filmed, but the actress who played Brenda was actually a teenager, and after the whole session, they're in a good mood until Preach blabbed to Brenda about the bet.
Wait until I tell Coach Cheese I won. He owes me $1, babe.
Monday comes and it's test day and none of the men study, so they come up with a plan to cheat. However, Mr. Mason thwarts this plan by letting Preach sit at his desk. Just when they start to begin the test, the police come in and arrest Preach and Cochise for grand theft auto. The two men gives different stories on what happened, but they don't snitch on each other. But thanks to some convincing by Mr. Mason, their charges were dropped. But for Stone and Roberts, since they have priors, their luck isn't great. Police send Preach and Cochise home, and this led to Stone and Robert assuming that they snitched.
Guess I don't have to tell you who told on us.
Back home, Preach's mother catches wind of all of his past actions and say a line that all black kids have heard.
Go upstairs and get that bill.
At the end, his mother said she's tired and can't do it no more, and fun fact, she was really tired.
Tired. I ain't doing it no more. I'm tired.
The next day comes and word gets out that they snitched, and this scene features an uncredited appearance from a future movie director in Robert Townsend. At school, Mr. Mason finds Preach and they have a heart-to-heart about his wasted talents. He then tells Preach that it was he who got him out. After school, he goes to tell Cochise the good news, only to find him screwing with Preach's old fling, leaving him to storm out. He goes to Martha and finds Brenda's and apologizes for everything, but just then, Stone and Robert walks in, and Damon decides to fan the flames and they go after Preach. Stone and Robert gets kicked out, but they wait for Preach outside. Meanwhile, Cochise finds Brenda and she tells him about Stone and Robert, and that's when Cochise goes to look for him. Once Preach leaves, the chase is on, but Preach was able to evade them and he unites with Brenda. She tells him that Cochise went to look for him and Preach fears the worst. The worst occurs when Stone, Robert, and Damon catches Cochise lacking, and they give him a beating he never forget. Damon gets the last laugh and punches Cochise and he hits his neck on a metal piece of bridge. As Preach looks for him, he's too little, too late, and finds his friend dead. Fun fact, Eric Monti, who wrote this film, had a whole extended scene where Preach and Cochise apologized to each other at the hospital just before Cochise caught his last breath. Assuming that the movie was going too long, he cut the scene short for him to die at the bridge. After Cochise's funeral, Preach had a whole monologue with him, and it's a heartfelt moment in the whole movie. We were friends a long time ago, laughing, rapping, chasing girls, obeying no laws except the one of caring. Basketball days and high nights, no tomorrows, unable to remember yesterday, we live for today.
Oh man, it don't rhyme.
The movie ends in a prototypical hood movie stereotypes of the aftermath of All in the Movie. Preach went to Hollywood and became a screenwriter. Stone and Robert were killed in a gas station holdup, and what's crazy was that Norman Gibson, the actor who played Robert, was killed in a dice holdup, and Sherman Stone Smith served time for robbery. Brenda became a librarian and has 3 children and has the stereotype of going to Atlanta to escape the hood. Damon is a sergeant in the U.S. Army. Pooter works in a factory in Gary, Indiana, and Tyrone was killed in a riot at the 1968 Democratic Convention. This is one of the most important films of all time. Before I get to the cultural significance of this film, I need to get some thoughts out of the way first, and I only have thoughts for 3 people. First, we have instigating ass, hating ass Damon. Everywhere he goes, he's looking for trouble. Got beat by Cochise because he unattendedly kissed his girl. And once word got out that Stone and Robert got snitched on when they weren't snitched on, I feel like he was the most responsible for Cochise's demise since he was waiting for Stone and Robert to act on their revenge. And this whole thing about him going to the military to avoid jail time, they could rule Cochise's death an accident, but who knows. Now on to Cochise. Cochise was the jock who had it all. Basketball scholarship, all the girls of his choosing, but just one night of bad decisions would eventually lead to his demise. And then there's Preach. I watched a YouTube video of someone saying that he was the real villain of this whole movie, and I get it. It was Preach who constantly skipped school. It was Preach who kept gambling at Martha's after being told not to. It was Preach who drove the boys into a high-speed chase. Granted, he was kind of pressured into doing it. It was Preach who smashed Brenda just for $1 in a dream. It was Preach who withheld information from Cochise and eventually got him killed. Everything Preach could do wrong, he did wrong in this film. And it took Cochise's death for him to run away, but it was he who was the most successful out of the bunch. It was one of the most important films in black cinema as it influenced future film directors like the late John Singleton, Spike Lee, and Robert Townsend, as they all said that this movie influenced their future films. So, if you haven't seen this movie, go check it out. It's currently free on YouTube, and don't forget to pour one out for all the homies who ain't here. And that concludes the Cooley High movie recap. Tell me what y'all think in the comments below. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.